Germany is a nation of renters. Why is that? And why do people in the UK want to get on the housing ladder as soon as possible? This and more I will cover in today's video. My name is Melanie. I am from a small town in Germany near Hamburg, and I have lived in the UK for almost 11 years. I originally came to the UK on a 1-year nanny contract before Brexit, and I happened to stay on after the contract finished. In that time, I had many interesting experiences and facts to share with you about the differences between German and British culture. Your comments about London not being an example of Britain in a previous video of mine reached me. Believe me, I read all of them. So don't worry, I hear you. For those of you who were wondering, I have actually lived in other parts of Britain rather than London. When I first arrived in the UK, I lived in Surrey, then in Berkshire, and I also spent some time in Hertfordshire. I have visited a fair few cities, including Manchester, Brighton and Oxford, but I want to explore a lot more of this country. When I lived in Germany, I never thought about buying property. But as of right now, I'm looking for a property with my partner in the Greater London area. Most of my friends here either own property or want to buy property as soon as possible. Whereas a lot of my German friends rent and are not interested in buying property. Although some are. I'm not speaking of all of them. Buying was never a topic of discussion in my family. It wasn't something that was even considered. On one hand, you could argue this is because we do not have a wealthy background. But then on the other hand, my grandparents did own their own property, their own house. So we do have an example of home buyers in my family. My dad inherited the house together with his sister, and he did not have the money to pay her out to keep the house, as far as I know. Also, side fact, in Germany there is a percentage that a parent has to leave their child in their will, whereas in the UK this doesn't exist. As a parent in the UK, you can put whatever you like in your will, which I personally find much fairer. So let's talk about it. Why is it that Germany is a nation of renters? More than 50% of Germans live in rented accommodation, and you might think that real estate is a lot more expensive in Germany and that's why people aren't buying. But the reality is that real estate in Germany on the whole is actually slightly cheaper. You could also think that Germans don't buy because they like moving around and they don't want to be stuck in one place. But this is not the case either. In fact, on the whole, Germans move around 2 to 3 times in their life, whereas Brits move 8 times in their life. So why is it then that Brits own more properties than Germans? Home ownership can come from buying yourself, but it can also come from inheriting. This is where German history plays a part. During the Second World War, 3.6 million homes were destroyed. Many of these homes were privately owned and therefore couldn't be inherited by anyone afterwards. Whereas in the UK, the number of homes destroyed during the Second World War is 500,000. Another reason is that Germans need to put down a much higher down payment, between 20 and 25%. Whereas in the UK, you can buy a property with as little as 5% of a down payment. However, so for those buying in the UK, you mustn't forget the lower the down payment, the higher the interest rate on the mortgage. Another incentive is a scheme called shared ownership. However, this is a whole topic in itself, and that's why I created a whole video on its own for this. But Germans are generally cautious about any kind of credit. It's a cultural thing that many Germans find renting more secure and more sensible. And another reason for that is that rentals are of high quality and well managed. at least for the most part. If anything needs fixing, you've got your landlord. And in Germany, that is taken very seriously. I mean, to get things fixed. Whereas in the UK, yes, you have a landlord, but he does not always take fixing things super seriously. Although I don't want to generalize about that, really. On top of that, Germany has fantastic laws that protect renters. And leases are unlimited. You can't so easily kick a German person out of their rented property. In the UK, on the other hand, leases are usually between 6 months and 3 years. Although personally, I have never seen a lease longer than 2 years. And I have experienced it twice, that when I was in a rental, that we had an email from the landlord telling us we would need to move out in 3 months' time because he either wanted to sell or he wanted to use it or whatever. But we literally just got notice. I don't really know if this is illegal or not, but we just followed the letter basically. Another fact that makes renting very attractive in Germany are rent caps or rent control, which means landlords cannot up the price however high they like. There is a cap, a law that they have to follow, and that makes renting in Germany generally cheaper than in the UK. And if you haven't seen it, watch my Live on 23k in London video. In Germany, there are only few incentives by the banks and by government to make it more attractive for people to buy. The only incentive I could find is something that is called Bausparen, and I don't know how many people sign up for that anymore. Please let me know in the comments if you have experience with that or you know more about it. And I think you need to start at a young age. In the UK, we have various incentives to get on the housing ladder, and I will name a few. One is an account, it's called Lifetime ISA. This is an account you can open before the age of 39 or until you are 39, and the government will back it with 25% interest, but you can only pay up to £4,000 a year into this account. And this money can then be used when you buy your first property, or you can keep this account and use it for your retirement. Another scheme that was very popular for a long time is called Help to Buy, but it finished in 2023. And currently the government is running a mortgage guarantee scheme. However, this will end in mid-2025 this year. Another big incentive, and this is also a very big incentive for me personally, is that paying off a mortgage is often cheaper than paying rent. I mean, think about that. That's crazy. Here in the UK, most people refer to paying rent as dead money, and rented accommodation here does not have as high of a standard as rented accommodation in Germany. In the UK, people always speak about getting on the housing ladder. I don't hear people in Germany speak about it like that. And they always say just start with a small flat or just a very small property and then upgrade later. Although this becomes more and more difficult for the younger generation. As prices rise, interest rise, it's becoming more difficult, but people do still talk about this. By the way, as I was researching this topic, I saw a video of another YouTuber and she kept referring to Brits saying, "My home is my castle." I personally have never heard a single British person use this phrase. Let me know in the comments if you're British and if you use this phrase. I'd be really interested, but I've never heard people say that here. So let me summarize this for you. The reason why Germany is a country of renters is a combination of the German history, high quality rentals at low prices, high renters protection, low incentives for home buying, and also a little bit the German mentality of being risk averse and credit averse. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel for more videos, and also please write a comment below because I read every comment. And otherwise, I'm wishing you a lovely day and see you in my next video.